And it's shocking.
What is your favorite Bravo show to cover?
I mean, like, look, I think back in the day, seasons 1 through 7, I think Vanderpump Rules was the best show that ever existed on Bravo because it really was truly, this king and queen, Jax and Stassi, and then he denies, and he sleeps with everyone, but he denies sleeping with her, like, really good friend, Kristen, who's also his friend Tom's girlfriend, and they deny it. And then guess what? Like a few seasons later, it's actually true. And then we have it was so incestuous. It was real. Like you couldn't script this if you tried. And then, yeah, seasons 8 and 9 were literally horrible. Like horrible. I mean, I was like, the show is over. It will never survive. And this show, now I know from pretty reliable sources, like this season came back and they got like nothing. I mean, Lisa Vanderpump did well, but everyone else was like pay cuts, told like, this is it. This is it. You better pull it together. If this doesn't work, this show is done. And they also like I know for a fact, like they weren't even going to cover Sheena's wedding, and they wanted her to like, and this is not from Sheena, so I'm not revealing anything I shouldn't, but like they didn't, people had to fly themselves. It's like really bargain. Everyone looks at this and it's like, these people are spending money to take time out of their actual day, side hustles to actually do all this for free. So it was really on its last leg. And I mean, so that was back,
They should be thanking Tom, unfortunately. This show is going to stay on the air thanks to him being a dog.
And I think they all like, look, it's a little overkill for me that they're all talking about it 24/7, but I think they were so hot and they had 2 years of like, maybe to the Bravo fan, it seemed like these people were still like around, but they really weren't. Like they really were on the B list simmering on this show. So I think like if you're like a Lala or a Katie, or I think you're like, no, I understand. I need to stir this pot 24/7 because like, wait, I see maybe my paycheck will come back next season. And like I have, because I think they spent a year or two figuring out like, what the hell am I going to do now?
100%. I think that they are in a very good situation at this point. But now you got to keep the drama going. And that I think will be the hard part. Like if they were already fizzling out, what do you do now? Now that you've got the attention, you got all eyes on you, how do you keep this momentum so that you don't get into the spot where people were starting to give up on the show?
Yeah, I just think there needs to be a course on reality TV because like you look at like, and I'm not knocking Brooke Hogan, that's all different anyway, because you had famous parents, but like so many of these people come on, it's not just Vanderpump, all the housewives, and it's like, even if it was 9 years, like now you have 40 years left of your life or 20, like what is your plan to make $1? Like maybe you make 100,000 on social media, right? 150, but that's a lot different than like $900,000 when that's your salary. Like, what is your plan now for the long term for the next 20 years? I just think it's sad, right? Like there's no plan.
Yeah. It was funny while you were talking, I was thinking, have you had anyone on your show where like, I look at it, the biggest stars in the world are some of the nicest people. And I find that some of these young reality stars that are coming up can be the biggest pains in the asses to have to deal with. Like their ego is so inflated at such like a quick time that they are just not fun. And I'm like, you're not even famous yet. Like, why are you being a pain in the ass?
Yes and yes. And you're just like, you have no idea. Like you look, again, we could just refer to her, even like a Brian Austin Green or like a Jodie Sweetin, because we talk, it's like, look, they're working, but they had the years where they were knocked down when, like 90210 is over, it go Brian, or Jodie Sweet, like you go from like, so I think like when you talk to some of these real celebrities, they've gone through the off switch that when it's on again, they have a different perspective on life or a different appreciation, and they're still doing fine. They're getting, like you said, like $110,000 in residuals and they're working, but like at least they know fame is really fleeting through like the B-list fame or the C-list and then the A-list. So they just are nice and have a perspective on it. And yes, even the huge celebrities, but then you're like, okay, well, of course you're happy. You should be happy. I mean, you're Julia Roberts. Like, what problems do you have in life? Granted, okay, I understand there are problems,
Yeah.
Because like it must be tough when someone wants something from you every minute of the day. But
Hmm.
yes, I mean, have you had these reality stars that are just, you're like, God, get over yourself?
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like I've ran into them in normal daily life more than having on the podcast where I'm just like, man, your ego is out of check with what it should be right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to think of a good example of someone that I was really turned off by, but
Yeah,
of
think of
course
a
I
good
can't because I'm on the
example.
spot right now. But I just know that there's been quite a few, or even people that will just turn down the podcast and they're like, "Oh no, I couldn't possibly," and I'm like, "Why? We've had way bigger celebs than you, and okay, I'll
I,
move on."
I say that all the time. I'm like, but this doesn't make any sense. Like, look at the roster here. Like, right. Like, I've had way bigger names. I find in general that the most out of touch with their place in the real world to me is housewives. More so, I don't know if it's because they're older. This is not age shaming, but like, I find a lot of like the Vander kids and like the younger, not that they're young, but like I find that I just find housewives are the most to me out of touch with their place in the world.
I could
It's
see that.
that's where the ego is the most inflated to
Yeah.
me.
And I think there's something to be said where these are people that are already super wealthy, and now you're giving them fame on top of wealth and quick fame. I think it does skew their perspective on a lot of things because so many things are handed to rich people already, but like those rich people, you know what they don't have? They don't have fame, and now you're giving them the fame on top of it. So and they're in spots where like Orange County, where it's not like there's a ton of famous people running around everywhere. Yes, we have plenty of famous people out here, but I think it's making them super famous in their hometown, which gives them even more power. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, you can't buy fame. That's the one thing you can't buy,
Hmm.
like true fame. Yeah, you can buy your way into, an Oscar party. You can even buy your way into the Met Gala if you really want to, but
Yeah.
it's not the same. No one's going to want your picture. And so, speaking of Orange County, I mean, there you are, boots on the ground. I mean, you have children, you have a wife. Like, has your wife ever been approached to be a Real Housewife of Orange
Oh
County?
no. Not at all. No, that is, and you know what the thing is? I would say no, honestly, because it kills so many relationships. And my wife and I, we've been together since high school. Like we, we came up, she got to ride this wave of me being on TV and all that kind of stuff. But I just think that you see everyone, they let cameras in their house and the world feels like they know them. They feel like they're part of their relationship. And then ultimately that relationship dies because now there's too many people involved in your relationship that you lose touch. And so I remember my first sadness one was watching Nick and Jessica break up after their reality show because I felt like I knew them, and I would literally have dreams that I was hanging out with them. That is one probably big side effect of working in the entertainment industry, and I don't know if you have the same thing. I literally have dreams that I'm friends with people that I'm not, and then I wake up, I'm like, oh damn, well that was fun. And I think I literally had one the other day with Taylor Swift. Just that we were hanging out, and it was a very weird one. But the Osbournes, they struggled for a long time.